It brings me great pleasure to introduce this afternoon's commencement speaker. She's not only an alumna of Cedar Crest College, but she's also the President and Chief Executive Officer of Northeastern Financial Consultants and the co-host of Live with Laurie and Lynn, a Saturday morning radio show that features the success stories of women in Northeast Pennsylvania. She founded Northeastern Financial Consultants more than 30 years ago and has had great success in her consumer-centric business model that focuses on understanding the hopes and dreams of her clients while ensuring their long-term financial stability. As an expert in her field, she authored a personal finance column for the Northeastern Pennsylvania Business Journal from 2001 to 2010, and is a contributing writer to the Garden State Women while also holding leadership roles in a variety of civic organizations. She's also remained an active member of the Cedar Crest College community as a member of the Alumni Association. She's in the process of working on a really important book, I think, about women and finances. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lynn Evans.
That day started just like any other day. Ordinary, same old, same old. But the way it ended changed my life. On that particular day, I came home from high school, jumped off the bus, and looked across the street towards my house. There were 3 big black cars parked in front. I knew these cars didn't belong to anybody in our neighborhood, and they certainly didn't belong to anybody in our family. I immediately felt a knot in my belly and was terrified by what I might find when I opened the door. Trembling, I managed to pay attention to the usual wait for the light to turn green, look up and down, cross the street without even thinking about it. And as I started to walk along the sidewalk to the house, I was greeted at the front door by my mother, who hurried me in and said, come on, get in here, you have to go upstairs." I said, "Why?" And in a very hushed voice, she said to me, "Because your father's in the dining room with the bankers, and they want us to go upstairs." And again, I said, "Why?" And her answer was, "Don't worry about it. There's nothing you need to worry about. Your sister and your brother are up there. We need to stay up there until they're finished." I still wasn't satisfied, so I said, "What are they talking about?" And at this point, she was so done with my questions. "Oh, Lynn, just let the men do their talking about money." Finally, I said, "Okay." And in that moment, unconsciously, I made up 3 very important rules about life. 1, women are not supposed to talk about or be included in any conversations about money. 2, we don't have the mental capacity to understand anything about money. And 3, men know best how to manage money. And that was the mindset of the day. All my mom's friends were raised to believe that, and they lived as wives and mothers with those truths. But here's the dark side to that way of thinking. The largest class of people in poverty in this country are widows over the age of 65. That bears repeating. The largest class of people in poverty in this country are widows over the age of 65. So what can we do about this? It may be too late at this point to help the multitudes of women already in that situation, but it certainly isn't too late to help you. How do we teach you so you don't end up being a scary statistic somewhere down the road? Many of the future widows in our country are baby boomer women like me, who are caught in between that generation of women, our mothers, who never talked or learned about money, and our daughters and granddaughters, the ones who are or will be out there with 401k plans and 6-figure salaries. What a huge gap. Let me go back to that fateful day with the bankers at my house. I was 16 years old at the time, and I knew I had to figure out what I was going to do about going to college and how to pay for it. The only choices I believed I had were to be a teacher or a nurse. I was told as a child I would make a good teacher, so I took the bait. I also knew my parents had no money set aside for any of us for college education, so I applied for loans and scholarships. And that day, while going through the Parents' Confidential Financial Form, my mother shared with me what had happened that day when the bankers came to call. Apparently, my grandfather, who had passed away a few months before their visit, had pledged our house as collateral for a business loan. After he died, the bankers were coming to settle the loan. My father was able to arrange a new mortgage on the house and everybody left happy. I did not know how close we came to being homeless, and I'm glad I didn't. 6 years from that point, I now have a college degree in secondary education with a major in French. When I graduated from Cedar Crest 40 years ago today, there were no openings for French teachers. So after going home and sulking about how unfair life was, and getting my letters from the banks and government agencies reminding me that it's time to begin repaying my school loans, I called the agent who left his business card at our house, inviting me to call him about a career with Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. Thanks to the likes of Betty Friedan and Gloria Steinem, names you may not recognize, I was sought after as the token woman insurance agent. I was not too thrilled with the idea, but I thought it might kill about 6 months until I could reapply for a teaching job. Well, that never happened, and it didn't happen the year after that, so I continued to do what I was doing. And all of a sudden it hit me. Not only did I realize I could understand money, but I successfully passed some difficult tests for insurance and securities licenses, and learned about estate planning and business succession planning. And then I began to talk to other women about this, and I opened their eyes. And they started understanding and listening to what I was saying about money. But now I had a whole new career. It wasn't until about 5 years ago that I suddenly discovered the irony between being taught not to worry and try to understand anything about money, and the fact that I never found a teaching job in French. And instead, I wound up teaching women about money, and in doing that, empowering them to understand what choices they need to make. So what do we need to do? First of all, we need to teach you more. We need to make money and finance a basic part of education, starting in grade school and continuing into high school, and not allowing any one of you to get a college degree unless you know that you can balance a checkbook. And then you have to understand about investment choices. The second thing we need to do is change the conversation about money among women in a setting where it's not threatening or scary, but where we can feel confident and comfortable about expressing our basic concerns about money, and that it's okay to admit to our ignorance. And the third thing we need to do is significantly up the ante in making sure that you get what you need to know about 401k plans, why you're making the choices you have available to make, and how to create real, sustainable wealth. I think we have a big task ahead of us, but I believe it's something that we can handle if we all agree that it's critically important. I urge you to go online to the websites that teach you the basics of finance. Get your house in order and make it your business to grow your own nest egg. Try LearnVest.com and any other number of financial education sites, and never pass up a chance to listen to someone speak about your 401k plan, about the investment choices you have, the performance of those funds, and to ask questions no matter how dumb you think they are. I don't want any one of you to be one of those impoverished widows. I want you to be women of wealth. Dare I say it, go forth and multiply.